World War III has already started. This is going to include Russia, China, Iran, the United States, North Korea, South Korea, Israel, Lebanon, and many more. Now, I'm going to break down what is going on in just a moment, but understand one thing, that all the tensions currently in the United States and around the world are only increasing the likelihood that we end up in a full-scale war very soon. So, I'm going to break all this down in just a moment, but all I ask is one thing. It takes 2 seconds. Go ahead, hit that like button if you enjoy these daily updates, and now let's begin. The first thing I want you to do is see the reports that we're reading. Look at this right here. It says, intelligence report says Iran will keep trying to kill Trump regardless of the election outcome. It says the report says Iran prefers Harris and Russia prefers Trump. Then we have this one where the CEO of JP Morgan, Jamie Dimon, is worrying that World War III has already begun. It says we run scenarios that would shock you, according to him. Then got reports like this, where Kim Jong-un is sending Putin 12,000 soldiers. North Korea says the U.S. warns that'll be fair game. And then South Korea president raises the possibility of supplying Ukraine with weaponry. Yeah, this is just the beginning. Just the beginning. Because then look at this report right here. It says Germany approves over $100 million in arms exports to Israel. Yeah, this is happening. And then if you remember, I talked about this just a few days ago where I said Iran warned that if Israel is even considering striking one of their nuclear facilities, this is going to be an all-out war. Well, look at this right here. It says sites in Iran that Israel could strike, some of which are military sites, others are oil and nuclear facilities. So yeah, this is turning into a big problem. And then look at this one. It says Iran has every reason now to go nuclear. It says Israel's latest wars are changing Tehran's strategic calculations. Okay, so what does this mean for us moving forward? Well, I'm going to dive into some of these articles in just a second, but here's the one thing you need to know. The United States has its hand in the war between Russia and Ukraine. We have had our hand in that ever since the beginning. We've also been very involved in the war or wars between Israel and other countries. Israel's been fighting in Lebanon, Israel's been fighting Hamas in Gaza, and they've been fighting Iran directly. So this is actually turning into a bigger problem. But let's get right down to it. Here's where things are starting to take a turn for the worst. According to reports previously, they were saying that former President Donald Trump was not going to win the election. We also were learning that there were assassination attempts, right? He was shot in the ear. There were people outside of the golf course with weapons, right? And so there's a lot of attempts on his life. Well, according to this report, that Iran is going to keep trying to take former President Donald Trump's life. Now, that article came out just today. I want to read you a little bit of it. It says, in September, Trump's campaign said that intelligence officials warned the Republican candidate of real and specific threats from Iran to assassinate him. Says the U.S. has gone to unprecedented lengths to protect the former president from retaliation from Iran for the killing of General Soleimani. Says both Trump and his high-level officials who ordered the strike in 2020 have faced death threats from Iran, which also recently hacked Trump's campaign and tried to peddle information to Democrats and the media. Yeah, they're doing everything they can to intervene into this election, right? Trying to manipulate the election in order to favor current Vice President Kamala Harris. But again, Russia doesn't want Kamala Harris. Russia wants Trump. Now, here's this article. Jamie Dimon worries World War III has already begun. Why would he be worried about World War III already beginning? Well, it's pretty simple. We are seeing so many issues around the globe, not just here in the United States. But look at this. It says Jamie Dimon typically pays close attention to the workings of financial markets and the Federal Reserve, but today his most important concern is geopolitics. The economic outlook is teeny compared to the geopolitical situation we face. That's what he told an audience on Thursday. He says he lamented the wars in Ukraine and the Middle East and the growing cooperation between U.S. adversaries, including Russia, China, North Korea, and Iran. Those are the ones. Russia, China, North Korea, and Iran. Those are four that we don't want to mess around with. Because again, a war with one will likely constitute a world war for all. Goes on to say, they are clearly talking about dismantling the system set in place by the U.S. and its allies after World War II, which Dimon credits as spawning an era of unprecedented global economic growth. Goes on to say, the risk is extraordinary. World War III has already begun. You already have battles on the ground being coordinated in multiple countries. And keep in mind, the United States has had multiple threats against us here on U.S. soil. We've had spy balloons flying over. We've had drones, right? We've seen many drones go over. I think it was like 17 or 18 drones in the matter of 5 to 7 days flew over our Norfolk Air Force, our base. And so, again, problems there. But we didn't learn about that until, right, about a long time after. Now, I want to read you one other thing as well. This one. Kim Jong-un to send Putin 12,000 soldiers. Says North Korean soldiers were being disguised as Russians and were acting under the Kremlin's command instead of their own. South Korean Defense Minister Kim Jong-un reported to lawmakers Thursday. Now, I talked about this last week, actually maybe earlier this week. I talked about how we were seeing North Korean soldiers were sent over to Russia. They were going to go through some training first and then eventually will likely be sent to the front lines fighting inside of Ukraine. Well, according to the United States, they'll be fair game. What does that mean? So if we go and attack the North Korean soldiers, is that the United States attacking North Korea? Is that the United States defending Ukraine in attack against Russia? That's where things are very concerning. Now, here's the problem though. We continue to see this regional war between Russia and Ukraine. It's starting to spread. It's pulling in other allies of these countries. Ukraine pulled in the United States. The United States is pulling in other countries for assistance, including Germany, which Germany, again, this is for Ukraine though, this is for Israel. They just approved $100 million for Israel. So this war with Russia and Ukraine started to expand. The war between Israel against Iran, Israel against Hamas in Gaza, again, continues to expand. So now it's turning into a larger scale war. Again, this is why many people are already saying World War III has already begun. The only difference is here in the United States, we don't think it started. We are not calling it a war. But why not? It's simple. Until the election is over in less than 2 weeks, this will not be called a war. And it won't be called a war because if it is, Democrats are going to blame President Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris. Well, Republicans will blame them too. But the problem is it's going to make it harder for Democrats to go and win back the presidency, get more seats in the House, and keep their control over the Senate. That's why they're not calling it a war. But we're going to see what happens moving forward, but that is what we know as of today. So again, just want to thank you guys for watching. Consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the next one.